I'd like to call the City Council meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Reverend Cooper, would you please say a prayer before our meeting?
Thank you, Mayor Lynch. Will you bow with me? Holy God, we continue our celebrations this day as we continue to celebrate the independence, the freedom, and the celebrations that we have experienced the past several days. We thank you for the wonderful celebration that we were able to have here in our city. Thank you to all those city workers who helped keep this event safe and continue to grow our celebration as a community. We pray for the work that is about to happen this evening with this council. We also pray on this day following the hottest day on record for our world, for those dealing with the heat, those who are dealing with the surges in calls for assistance, our hospitals, our first responders, also our city workers who are out doing their work out in the heat to continue to keep our city clean, our roads safe, and continue to help us move forward as a city, oh God, as we continue this time of celebration and of independence and of our self-governance. Amen.
Thank you. Please do the roll call.
Councilperson Alvarez?
Here.
Councilperson Pogorski?
Here.
Councilperson Geisers?
Here.
Councilperson Clem? Councilperson Williams?
Here.
Councilperson Gully?
Here.
Councilperson Zilli?
Here.
Thank you, Nina. We have the approval of the minutes from June 6th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Communications, correspondence, announcements from the mayor. I'm going to get a little windy here because we have some thank yous. As I've said many times, it truly takes a village to make things happen in our city and other places. And our Independence Day celebration just proved what we can do when we all work together as a community. So there are many people to thank for our successful event, and I want to name just a few of who the people were that put this event together and made it happen. And if I miss somebody, I sincerely apologize because there were many, many people that made this happen. First, I want to thank Norma. She's my administrative assistant, and the PEP team who have been working since January on this Independence Day event. So they have worked on all these details and everything with our department heads, and they did a fabulous job. This event was totally paid for by donations from our business community and our friends, and would not have been made possible without our sponsors, who I'm going to name because we appreciate them, because that's how we were able to have such a wonderful event. Abbenmarsh, American Structure Point, Breathe Easy Portage, Cleveland Cliffs, Commonwealth Engineers, CSK Architects, Dayton Street Partners, DLZ Indiana, Imagine Portage, Family Express, Hellman's Auto Supply, Holiday Properties, Conradi Plastics, MCR Partners, Portage Tire and Auto, Ready to Live, Reith Riley, and Samuelson Insurance. So those were the people that we really appreciate and applaud for helping us get this event going. I'd also like to give a huge shout out to our parade judges because they had some hard decisions to make. We had almost 70 floats in there. So Chrissy Foreman from Cleveland Cliffs, Carrie Higgins from Breathe Easy, Indiana, Connie and Mike King, Vanessa Head, and Beverly Williams, all from Portage Township Schools, and Matt Kaiser from Abbenmarsh. And a huge thanks to Robin Wilkening, our parade announcer, who had a lot of things to say that day. So we appreciate her too. Most of all, I want to thank our street department. They were out early, putting out all the barricades and the toters along the parade route the night before. And then right after the parade, they were out there picking them all back up. To our police department for providing additional officers to make sure that the thousands of people who attended our event were safe and felt safe throughout the day and the evening. To our awesome, awesome, awesome police reserves. Hi, Chris Seagard, I see you over there. Huge round of applause for Chris, Gail Spizak, and Bob Anderson, who went above and beyond, keeping our traffic moving smoothly in and out. And I just want to say that when thousands of people leave Founders Square within 25 minutes, it's unbelievable. Nobody ran into everybody. Everybody was happy. It was just a great job by those guys. To our Portage Fire Department, who are always ready to assist anybody who gets hurt or injured. Thankfully, no one was. We did have a little lost boy, but he got found instantly. And to our amazing park department, especially our superintendent, Diane, and her staff were helping out throughout the day, because if you notice, most of the garbage cans were all emptied out. The bathrooms were attended to throughout the day so that everything was kept clean and sanitary, and that's a big job, and we appreciate them very much. And to our guys in field forces who got those street sweepers out there right after the parade and got all that candy and all the things that were left over from the parade cleaned up instantly after the parade. So we really appreciate that. We want to thank BRJ Fireworks for ending our evening with an amazing fireworks show after experiencing terrible technical difficulties with their computers because of the rain and the humidity. So big thanks to Bill, because he got out there and actually hand lit a lot of those fireworks so that we had our show. So kudos to him for his bravery, because they just don't do that anymore. But I'm proud of our city, and I'm proud of all of you. It was an outstanding team effort by everybody, so give yourself a round of applause. And we fought off those raindrops. One last thing, I want to invite everybody. The invitations will be going out to our elected officials in the county and here in the city. You're cordially invited to the City of Portage Library Garden groundbreaking, and that's going to be over there on the south side of the library with Library Director Jesse Butts for the official groundbreaking of our new outdoor learning center. That will be at 1 o'clock on Thursday, July 20th. So we hope to see you there. This has been something we've worked on for over 2 years. COVID kind of slowed us down, but we're very excited to see this project take off, so come on out and join us that day. We look forward to seeing you. And that's all I have. Clerk Treasurer, can you top that?
No, I don't want to. That's okay. Briefly, outstanding temp loans that we had to be paid by before June 30th has been taken care of. And we did receive our full spring settlement. That's all.
Okay. Reports from standing committees.
Ordinance Committee met before the meeting tonight, as we do every month. Had final kind of approval and recommendations for a couple changes to the salary ordinance that will be discussed later when we pass them. And then also had a resident complaint about our ordinance concerning a licensing and registration of contractors in the city that we're going to be reviewing further.
As far as the Budget Committee, we had to reschedule our meeting, and that meeting has been set for July 17th at 4 p.m. here in the council meeting room.
Thank you. So we have reports from city officials, and I'm going to move this around a little bit. We're going to start off with streets. Shocked you, didn't I?
I completely agree with that. Was a great event for the city to partake of, and it was a fun event. So I was going to, June was a very busy month for the street department. Nearly 950 phone calls come into our office, and that was pretty high. And then we had 1,079 drive-ins. So people just coming by, picking up mulch or compost, dropping off grass clippings, dropping off limbs, leaves, dropping off bulk items. So it was a very busy month for the street department. The department did get a brand new bucket van. That's being utilized in general services. We did get that back today. It had a special recall on it. Brand new vehicle, just the day that we live in. Sometimes you get those recalls on new vehicles, but they have to be taken care of. So we'll be utilizing this bucket van for the banner program. No longer do we have to rent or borrow equipment from others. We have our own. So looking forward to that being in service for many years to come. Any external building repairs and any other situation that may require this equipment. So we're very excited. We thank the council, the Board of Works for that approval. So let's see here. We are in the middle of some mosquito abatement control measures. We do get questions on the type of products that we use, and we use a bona fide company called Clark, which provides our products, our mosquito pellets, and stuff like that. So if you have any of your constituents that are in question some of that product that we use, I did send that to you. You could easily forward that to them. We're in the middle of some road striping. Our mowing crews continue. Our limb service continues. And over the past couple of months, we've been working with Portage residents and also Porter County Recycling District and other municipalities in the area. And we literally gave away 3,000 cubic yards of compost from our compost site. So we've been sharing that alike with others. We got about 750 cubic yards to go, and then we'll be completely out. And we'll be ready for the current leaf throws right now. And at the end of this season, before fall, we'll push that off the pile, and that'll be ready for giving out to the public next year. So For our sanitation department, we're finalizing the process of receiving about $550,000 from our Volkswagen grant. The 7 trucks that we've received, those are the CNG trucks. We put some of those in the parade. We're naming them. We had a little contest for our 4th and 5th graders throughout Portage, and they gave us a list of names. So we'll be naming these CNG trucks here soon. We've got one, Oscar's New Can. That's our mini loader. So with that equipment that we received 2 rear loaders, 1 mini rear loader, 2 grapple trucks, and 2 automation trucks. This is the same gas that heats your home, gives you hot water, and also cooks all your food. So the same gas that's powering this new equipment. So NERPC, I wanted to also give an update to the council. NERPC awarded the program the NOFA grant to Portage. That's an amount of $4.55 million for the next 5 years. I was going to give the council a slight breakdown. In 2024, part of those funds, it'll be about $1.3 million will be available for about 4 CNG trucks. And then in 2025, our CNG station will be built, and that's about $778,000. Then in 2026, about $180,000, and finally in the year 2028 is the remainder of the $2.2 million to be utilized on CNG equipment for the city. So that's a great revenue fund there that we've taken advantage of, and that is an 80-20 match. So the NOFA grant will cover 80% of the cost of the equipment. And myself, Ryan Lissick, the mayor, and Councilperson Podgorski is going to be meeting this Friday and going over some finalization of that NOFA grant. So that's a big pat on the back for sanitation and much needed equipment. I did also send you that we are still, I just want to remind that we are still suspended in our recycling program. We're still auditing. Confiscated one today that had a cat tree in it. So, but we have a flyer going out in the next month or 2 here. We're in the final stages of design for that. It's a nice little flyer going out. That's also paid through a recycling grant. About $8,000 will be covering that expense for that mailer. I'm also wanted to remind the public about our bulk item policy. Even though it's Amnesty Week, and that's your first trash day of the month, you could put stuff out to the curb up to 40 square feet, but some people will clean out their entire house. And we do go out there and we do measure that. And yesterday we had a big pile. It was about 40 feet by 11 feet wide, and that's approximately about $400. So once you go beyond the scope of the policy of the ordinance, it is ordinance, 40 square feet, there are extra charges involved in that. And I just want the public to be reminded of that.
Randy, if I could on the bulk
Yes.
policy, how many other cities actually pick up bulk items like we do?
Lake Station does, and they charge. Valparaiso just started charging for their bulk items, and Hobart does charge as well, so. Any other questions?
As in they charge no matter what? They don't offer free pickup like we do?
No, they do not offer big free pickup, so.
Great job.
Thank you.
All
It was a
right.
hot day for your
Okay.
guys. I hope they were
Happy
okay.
Father's Day. Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Yeah. Thanks, Randy, for all you do. Okay, Chief Wilkening.
Good evening, everyone. So we're still running pretty steady with our call volume. Last month, we had 480 total calls. 341 of them were EMS, 2 fires, and we only had 6 mutual aid ambulances come into the city. So the total for the year is 2,698 calls. 1,959 were EMS. We've had 17 structure fires, and we've had a total of 46 mutual aid calls come into the city. Compared to last year, we had 157. So we are definitely improving with that third rescue. We're not quite as busy as last year. We're down just a few calls. However, the type of calls that we've been having have been quite a bit more serious. Just a little example is so far we've had drownings, house collapses, we've had volatile chemicals, serious car crashes, people trapped in a trench. Excuse me. So we've had to call bomb squad, technical rescue teams, dive teams. We've had numerous helicopters that we've had to call to fly patients out. So even though it's not quite as busy, although it's still post-COVID, it's still quite a bit busier than when we were. The calls are getting worse. So kudos to all of the firefighters. They've done a wonderful job with all those calls, and they've handled them all professional, and I know it's hard, and they do an excellent job. As far as our personnel go, we did have one firefighter resign last month, so that gives us 5 open spots that we still have in the department. So we are making a new list this month, so we are still accepting applications. It's not too late, so they can go on our website and our Facebook page or call the station, and we'll get them all the information. So we did have a hiring open house that went fairly well, so we had a few really good prospects come to that. We have one firefighter that's off on workman's comp and one that's on FLMA, but he's going to be coming back next week, so we'll be getting them back. We did hold our award ceremony last month, and we did award our firefighter and EMS person of the year. The firefighter of the year was Rick Nikos, and our EMS person of the year was Roy Johnson. So congratulations to them. They are both very well deserving of the honor. Our vehicle status, we did get some major repairs on one of our ladder trucks that's out for service, but hopefully it comes back this week. So nothing new to report on our firefighter grants. Still just in limbo waiting to hear from the federal government. As far as our training, we are still continuing to train regularly. However, we have been getting a bunch of ER nurses from Northwest Health. They've been coming and riding with us just so they can get a better idea of what goes on before we walk into the door with the patients in the ER. So the program, we used to do it a long time ago, and they started it up again. So I think it works really well to help with the relationship between the ER staff and our people. As far as community involvement, we do keep doing our CPR classes and Stop the Bleed. Those are becoming quite popular. If you're not familiar with the Stop the Bleed, they're equipping different places with these kits that have tourniquets and things like that for severe bleeding, because they were finding out that people were just bleeding out before help could arrive. So we're teaching the lay public to use these certain things to try to control bleeding before we can get there and get more measures. So the program is really working out well, and we are teaching quite a few people. So it's not as popular as CPR, but it's starting to become more and more prevalent. So we did have a busy month last month as far as involvements go. We worked the high school graduation. We did participate in the Relay for Life for the First Responders Lap, and of course the whole Independence Day festivities. Just like to finish on a high note, is a job well done, not only to the firefighters and my department, but also to all the departments in the city. Like you said, Mayor, everybody worked really hard for the 4th of July festival. I attended the meetings, all the department heads, all the different departments got together, worked together well, and made the event a really special time. But also, we did the graduation, and that was probably the smoothest graduation that I've worked in a really long time. And kudos go out to the police department. They did some wonderful planning ahead of time. And I know it kills me to give Candiato kudos, but I got to give it because they did come up with a really nice plan for traffic and things. And Last year was we had a lot of snarls, but this year was great. Everybody was smooth. We didn't transport anybody. All we had was another lost child, and we were able to locate. So that went great. But yeah, other than that, oh, I do have one other thing, is the Portage Firefighters Local 3151's golf outing is coming up at River Point on August 3rd. So if you can look at the Facebook page or call one of the firefighters and get any information and register for that. Any questions?
Randy, how many fireworks incidents did we have over the weekend?
Oh, I didn't really look.
Did we have a lot, a little?
We had a few. Not an overwhelming amount. I don't think it was anything out of the ordinary. So did seem like there was a lot more people shooting their own fireworks off this year. I felt like a war zone every once in a while. All right.
Thanks for a great job, guys. Thank you, Randy. Okay, Chief Candiana, now you get to rebut Randy over there.
Good evening. So I was on vacation last month and missed the meeting, so Chief Wilkening said I get double the time tonight, right? I'll try to not do that. But just to kind of go off what Chief said, pretty busy last month. For June, we were at 3,347 incidents. That brought us up to about 112 a day. So we were running right around 99 or so into the spring. Last month, I think we jumped up to 111, and obviously last month we're at 112. So that's got us at 18,450 for the year. So it seems to be on par with last year, pretty close. I was curious how busy we were with the long extended holiday weekend. So I pulled the numbers on that, and we ended up responding to 540 calls for the weekend. So pretty busy, but overall nothing too crazy. I don't think we had any major incidents. So, and then I was kind of curious with a lot of the social media stuff about fireworks and things. I was curious to see how many fireworks complaints we handled, and I could only find 11 of them from starting on Friday till the end of last night. So either people didn't call or it wasn't as big of a problem this year. I'm not sure which one, but.
Were the complaints past the hours or the fireworks that were being lit off themselves?
It was a variation of too close to my house or time frame, or just, I mean, some of them were noise complaints at like 8 or 9 o'clock, which obviously was within the ordinance. So, but yeah, we only responded to 11 of them from what I could find over the weekend. So I was kind of surprised by that, but. So as far as our hiring and staffing, we currently have 2 officers in our field training program. We just released one over the weekend. We've got 2 officers starting within the next few weeks, and that leaves us with 4 openings, and then we've got a retirement in August, so we'll have a 5th opening coming in August. We're currently going through a hiring process again. I think I say that every month. So hopefully we'll be able to fill some of those spots. The problem we're going to run into is in August we lose 6 officers to the academy. So if we haven't filled some of those spots, then you're talking 6 plus the 5 openings. We're potentially running 11 short in August. So we'll see what that gives us, but it's probably going to be a little lean going through the end of the summer and into the fall. So as far as community stuff, we obviously participated in the parade and the fireworks. We also did a first responder appreciation event at Lakeshore Campground, and Captain Monks and Tilly participated in preschool story time at Woodland Park. So I think Tilly read the book. Not sure how well that was, but so one of the other things I wanted to go over was our police social worker that we're hoping to get approved. I just wondering, I understand that probably can't get too deep into it today because I think it's going to come up next month, but I did send over the proposal and some information about that. I just wanted to see if you guys had any questions on that or if you wanted to wait. I think there was a decent amount of detail in there, so anything with that today or hold off? Okay. All right, 2 promotions I need to announce. Jim Egan was promoted from sergeant to lieutenant, and John Wright was promoted from sergeant to lieutenant. I believe that took place at the beginning of June. So a lot of these promotions are taking place from all the retirements as we're catching up with the promotions after the retirements. So we are doing National Night Out. I believe it's August 1st, first Tuesday in August. It'll be at Founders Square from 4 to 8 p.m. Welcome anybody from the community to come out, spend some time with officers. Probably have some food, hang out, have some equipment out there. If any of the other city departments want to come join us, it's kind of a cool event to just kind of hang out with the community. So we'll be there. I'll probably send out a reminder email to the rest of the city on that. And then last couple things I want to talk about. I do appreciate Chief Wilkening bringing up graduation. I have to say our SROs, Trent Howard and Jake Wyrick, put together the majority of that traffic plan. The last couple of years have been a nightmare at best. They did a great job working with the school, working with the admin, getting that plan out, and we got it advertised, and by all indications, things were way smoother. I mean, when you're trying to get, 8,000 people into a small area like that that has Highway 6, Airport and Loop, which are some of our busiest roads bordering it, it's not going to be perfect, but it seemed like they really did a good job with that, so I'd like to give them a bunch of credit for that. And then lastly, I just want to talk about the Independence Day stuff. It's sad sometimes to see how social media has become less of a place of information sharing and sharing, keeping track with your friends and family, and more of a place to complain. I understand that everybody's got their rights to make their opinions, and I support that. But I just want to say, from my perspective of being out there, we walked the parade. Captain Monks, Tilly, and I walked it one way, and then walked it back. And there were a lot of people that seemed to be very appreciative, having a good time, lots of smiles, lots of just happy kids, lots of candy. There was a lot of candy out there. But it just seemed like it was a happy event. So just kind of wanted to put that as, seeing it firsthand, what we saw. And then we spent a lot of time down at the park during the fireworks. I know the fireworks there was a little bit of an issue there, but again, very minimal issues that we had from a law enforcement side. And I don't know how many thousands of people that were down there, but obviously a potential to have problems when you have that many people. And it was minimal problems, lots of happy people, lots of handshaking, lots of just happy people. So my appreciation goes out to our citizens and the people that came and visited, because when you have that many people, it doesn't take much for it to turn into a major problem, and we didn't have any of that. So that would be my first thank you. My second one would go to Lieutenant Maynard, Captain Monks, who kind of spearheaded a lot of the stuff that went down there, helped coordinate with that. Mark's hiding back there. He probably doesn't want any recognition, but he was out parking cars for like 4 or 5 hours. Not a job I would want to do, so I thank him. And then, is Chris out there? Is he out there? Chris, you out there? I'm here. And I know we're probably going to do something a little more formal next meeting. I got to tell you, these guys, our reserves, if the numbers I was given was that they donated 200 hours on that day alone. And again, it's donation. The parade planning, the traffic plan, all of that. Again, I don't know how many people were down there. I'm going to say 6,000, 7,000 people. To get them in, get them out, that was largely on their plan. And, we had officers out. We had some down there, but we had to take care of the rest of the city. And so a lot of that fell on them. And again, all volunteer time away from their families. And I know we talk about what they do a lot, but it's these big events like this where you really see how they help us. So, and then just echo, and it'll turn into a love fest here, but just to echo what everybody else said, just the way the city workers came together, the planning, I think people don't realize what it takes to plan an event like that, and you're always gonna have hiccups, but if you don't have the major hiccups, it's because people came together, worked together, and everybody did their job. Again, the amount of people that I saw down there and the fact that the issues were small is a real testament to those who came and to the people in the city. So, did I use all my time? Yeah. You're good. Okay.
Mike,
guys
I
have
do
any
have a
questions?
question for you.
Sure.
If someone wanted to become a reserve, what does that process look like?
So we take apps all the time for that, and then it's kind of a similar process, not as detailed as our full-time officers, but there is a whole process we go to. Now, our reserves, there is really no budget for them, so it's, some of that is dependent on where we can find money. They do a lot of stuff with duct tape and glue to use it, I don't know how else to term it. They take what money that they've got and make it go a long way, so we are kind of limited on the amount of people that we can have in that program because of that. And then it's just the time, we get a lot of people that, the ones that we have that stick with it, again, kudos to them, because once you get into it and you realize the time commitment and you're donating your time, it's, the ones that we've had, most of them we've had for a while, and they put the time in. It's a little bit of a revolving door trying to find people that are that dedicated. But yeah, we're always taking apps, and then we kind of, once you get into it and kind of explain to them what it really involves, then that dwindles pretty quickly, so.
Mike, how
Yeah.
many reserves do we have presently?
Mark, did you say 9 right now? Yeah. Yep. So it's a heck of a program, especially when we have these big events and we need the extra staffing, so.
Well, I have to say, clearing that number of people out, I mean, it just flowed so perfectly. I couldn't believe it. I mean, nobody got upset. There was no horn beeping and yelling, and
I think we had one crash, and it was a halfway minor crash right out here on Central. That's the only one that I think I recall with that many people trying to get out. So, not bad.
not bad at all. Great job.
All right.
Thank
All right, thanks.
you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Diane, tell us about our great park.
I will say to also mention the 4th of July festivities. This was my first time as an employee, so I saw all the thought and planning that went into it and all their hard work from my staff and all the other departments. So I appreciate it more as a resident than I did a year ago, or a year and a half ago, or whatever. So I just wanted to say that. It's a short report. Personnel, we're hiring just a little bit of part-time at this point. Anytime somebody leaves or for any reason, we'll just fill that position. We're trying to get more of the over 18 and with a little bit more experience right now, so we're being a little more picky with our choices, so we are still hiring part-time. The next big hiring would be the sports director, so hopefully that all works out and we get that moving in the right direction. The sports director would be over the downtown baseball fields, the softball complex, and also the soccer fields at Imagination Glen. They would be in charge of already established programs like our youth baseball, our youth soccer, our adult softball, and then hopefully create some more athletic programs in our city. As for maintenance, they've been very busy trying to get the parks looking as good as they could for all the 4th of July festivities. There was a lot of time and attention spent on Gilbert. We actually had some help from the donations from the Brew Fest and the help from, a little help from the RDC, and it kind of did a reset on all of our flower beds at Gilbert. But all the ones that weren't included in the reset, our staff has been taking care of trying to get it up to par. So we definitely want to say thank you to the Brewfest and to RDC for helping us get Gilbert looking good. We also, you might see some flowers popping up all over the parks. We had some marigolds, about 50 flats donated from Johnson's farm, which is really nice because that's not in our budget. And so if you see all those nice colors throughout the parks, that was a donation from Johnson's. Park programs and community events. We did mostly community events, including the 4th of July, our market on the squares every Friday night. Just like Chief said, we did have story time in the park, and Tilly attended. Our next story time in the park is actually this Friday, so Friday at 10 a.m. if you're interested. I think the theme is patriotic. Lastly, for athletics, youth soccer has opened up registration, so it's now until August 1st, so we'll hopefully have another wonderful fall season with soccer. So that is it, just a short report. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thanks to your staff, too, for getting out there and helping. I know they were parking cars, and it gets pretty congested there when something is about to start and everybody's coming in at the last minute. So I just don't think people realize how much juggling around you do with people at an event like this. So
Yeah.
thanks for sharing your people with us.
Yeah, they were very nervous. A lot of my staff are new employees and first-time jobs, so they're like, what do we do? So hopefully, next year we'll have it down pat, so.
Diane, I know it's early, but is there a new Halloween event that you guys are putting on that I saw posted today?
Oh, actually, it is, the same person that does all the other toy shows at Woodland Park. He's doing a Halloween one. I think this year it was just trying to juggle it all, but maybe we'll coincide it with our hayride next year. I just need to do another year of seeing how hayride works before we start throwing more things in. But it's a Halloween scary kind of themed
And
toy show.
The high school thespians are doing something? Are they doing a haunted?
That I'm not sure about. I only know about the toy show.
Oh, okay. It was on the flyer today. I saw
that-
something about the thespians for the
It
high
might
school
be.
doing
There's a lot going
haunted
on.
gym or
So
something.
there's sometimes more than I even know that's happening in our parks. So,
Thanks, Ty. It's shaping up really good. Tracy?
Hello. Like I said before, still waiting on SRF about our clarifiers. We should hear something the end of this month. We've heard a little bit back and forth on it. It's sounding good news, so keeping our fingers crossed on that. We've done a lot more with safety as of last month and continuing into this month. There was an incident in Hobart where in a sewer or manhole, there was an issue with a utility worker or a contractor or something. So we've taken upon ourselves to do more training for confined space. We've set up with Alliance for field and the plant to do confined space training on the 25th of this month. So we're trying to continue with that. We did a bunch of first aid kits. We got a new AED at the plant because we have one up front, but nothing in the back of our plant. So I was concerned that the time to come and get it would be too much, so we've done that. It's just been a lot of safety and that kind of stuff with our guys right now. Besides that, the plant's been running good. It still hasn't been a ton of rain, even though we've had more here and there. They're still monitoring the lines right now for any leaks or anything like that, that we've got the meters out there still. They've continued it because there wasn't a lot of rain. But everything else has been running really good. Any questions? Oh,
No.
one other thing. IDEM messaged us, our sewer user ordinance needs to be updated. So we are working on that. So I'm getting some prices from engineers and stuff and quotes to work on that, and then we will bring it to the ordinance committee after we get items approval on it. The last time it was updated was 2009. So that's going to be our next. That's starting really soon, so we're getting the prices and everything.
Good.
Thank
Keep
you.
going on those clarifiers and that solar project.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The solar is really exciting. Every time we talk about it, there's more and more that we get excited about it. We're taking down less trees, we're doing different areas. I'm really excited about that.
We're excited to have that extra property that's going to allow us to put that solar field in there. I mean, we're really blessed about that. So that's an exciting project.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thanks, Trace.
Thank you.
Barb, I thought you left us. I didn't see you back there hiding in the corner.
I was in the corner.
And I'm sure you're busy now with that marina.
Yes, we are. Hi, everybody. As I reported in May, we are 100% full for the year, so that means 214 slips are fully occupied. The 4th of July was our busiest day of 2023 at the launch ramp area. We had at least 150 to 175 trailers and boats that launched during about an 8 to 10 hour day with virtually no problems at all. We had one issue where a couple of people got into a little kerfuffle, but it was nothing major. It's Judge Judy. Just a couple updates for what's going on at the marina as far as progress goes. We installed a new security system with 17 cameras. We've got 3 pan tilt zooms and 14 4K dome cameras. that are really, really sharp, so now we'll be able to see if anybody's misbehaving on any dock or by any bathroom, which is good. It was much needed. We also had 2 new furnaces and air conditioning units installed in the office building. The transient dock has been completely reboarded from, the end all the way out to the end of the marina. We now are making our own ice and selling it, and I want to thank Terry Ellis for installing the new ice machine and checking to make that it surely runs well. Thank you, Randy, for allowing Terry to come to our place. The marina painting is still in process with all the railings, garbage cans, doors, et cetera, light poles. That's going to be a long process because there's a lot of railings to paint. The grant process for the fish cleaning station and the public fishing pier are still in process. We're just waiting for paperwork to be completed by the DNR and Abbott Marsh on their end. We did a marina beautification project this year with large planters spaced throughout the marina and also by each dock. And I put a couple pictures on Facebook for 4th of July just to show you how really beautiful they are. It looks really pretty. And other than that, we are still hiring. Like Diane said, I'm looking for 18 years old or above. I've got enough 16-year-olds. But we're doing pretty well with the staff that we have. There doesn't seem to be any major problems so far. And being that yesterday was our busiest day, I think we did quite well with what we have. That's all I have. Questions?
Good, you're busy out there, though. If anybody hasn't been out to the marina lately and just gone out there, it's really a lovely place to be. I mean, we think it's a boater's paradise, but really it's really nice out there just to sit out there and
Yes.
enjoy the marina.
Yes, it is, and we have public designated areas by the fishing pier. I mean, picnics, you can have a picnic there, there's picnic tables, there are grills. It's lovely, it really is, and people fish all the time, and it's really enjoyable. It's the best place to be, I can tell you
Thanks,
that.
Barb.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, did I miss anybody? If not, we have no unfinished business. We are moving on to new business, the approval of storage for chemical and/or combustible substances.
Colin, would you take that?
All right, application for a storage of chemical and/or combustible substances, ordinance 91-10. The name of the applicant is Amazon Data Services, Inc., address 6350 Prairie School Drive, Portage, Indiana 46368. Location of materials are diesel fuel, which will be stored in 3 individual 5,000-gallon steel double-wall tanks and 1 1,041-gallon steel double-wall tank. Each steel tank will be located below an emergency generator inside an enclosed building. Refer to attachment A for additional information. Type of material is a diesel fuel number 2. The diesel fuel will be stored in the 3 individual tanks and 1 1,041-gallon steel double-wall tank. The tanks are manufactured in accordance with UL 142. Let the record reflect this has been read in full. Motion to approve.
Second.
Are there any questions?
I know we brought this up at the Board of Works, Madam Mayor, but Chief Welkening, you are okay with this, right? You guys went out there and looked at it. This is sort of standard?
Yes, they've been working with Chief Kender, and he's done all the inspections and everything, and it's all basic, normal stuff.
And I think this came before the Board of Works, and we talked about it at length, and so I think we were pretty comfortable with it and approved it there at the Board of Works, too. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any further questions?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
council members, I addressed y'all before the Public Works. I'm Chris Casera. I'm the senior superintendent for Ryan Companies. We're the contractor involved in the project. Before you vote, I just wanted to reach out and say thank you to the chief, the fire chief, and the police chief. We had an incident on site last week, and it was their quick response that probably saved one of my contractors' lives. Portage Police Department was the first one on scene, and they applied a tourniquet to stop the bleeding from my injured worker. And then soon thereafter, Portage Fire arrived on the scene and transported them. So I would answer any questions about the the diesel storage, but I wanted to take this opportunity to personally, on behalf of Ryan Companies, AWS, and all of our contractors, say thank you to the Portage first responders for their quick response.
I have a question briefly, sir. Does your company have any comparable tanks in any different locations outside of Portage, and have there been any safety issues reported?
No, we're the general contractor building this project. These tanks are very standard. I've put them in all over the country, and we've never had any sort of problem anywhere with them. They're double-line tanks. They have interstitial alarms on them. They have spill buckets built into them. We have spill plans for them. It's a very common item, and it's just, you know, you have any sort of failure, but there's no sort of, we have never had any sort of leak or failure on one of these tanks on one of our projects, so.
Very good, thank you.
Reassuring.
Yeah, I think we were satisfied at Board of Works too, so, and, you know, I hope your employee's doing okay. I know our guys reported to us on that, so I'm hoping that he's improving.
Yes, ma'am, he is. And it's all because of the quick response from the Portage first responders.
Yep. And they are the best. That's
So,
why we have them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're glad that he's okay.
Yes, ma'am. So if y'all don't have any other questions, I'll go ahead and take my seat.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
So just to interrupt a minute, Colin's been monitoring.
Yeah, I've been monitoring the weather, just to give you all an update. There is a storm approaching. They're reporting 70-mile-an-hour winds incoming, so we're under a severe thunderstorm warning. So for those of you watching online, if the power does go out, the stream will go down. So if that happens, that is why our generator isn't seamless at City Hall.
That's the rain Tracy was asking for.
We need the rain, but not the wind.
Okay, everyone be safe. We have the Local 3151 collective bargaining agreement.
Dan?
So, council, what you have in front of you is the result of the bargaining between city and the firefighters union. And it's my understanding they ratified today on their end, so I'm going to run through it's not a ton of changes, but I'll just go through the finer points, if you'll bear with me. So this contract is a contract that will run from January 1, 2023, so it's retroactive to the beginning of this year, to the end of 2025, so it's a 3-year contract. December 31st, 2025 will be the ending of this contract. And if you sort of move about the cabin here a little bit, I'll hit some of the finer points. We've cleaned up a little bit of language that needed to be clarified, some things that are somewhat mundane. We cleaned up some reimbursement for firefighters at the academy. Since the academy is now close in proximity, the old language was somewhat antiquated, so we clarified that a little bit to make it more applicable. Also changed the time that a new firefighter might get some of their annual clothing allowance at 6 months of employment. There's a sort of the standard, what has been happening, increase to the clothing allowance standard of what we've been doing. So that was a slight increase. And scrolling right along, I don't want to miss anything here. Let's get to good stuff. Cleaned up some language with respect to labor management committee meetings. Since at this time we don't have an HR director, I've been filling in that role during issues of contract points of contention as the mayor's designee, so we added that in there, HR director or the mayor's designee, just procedural kind of stuff. And then the big fish in the pond was the wages. So this, again, this is a 3-year contract. So it calls for 3 years of increase. If you add them all together, it's a 15% overall 3-year increase, with the first year being 6.2%, the second year being another 5%, and the third year being 3.8%. We've got a little bit of longevity in there. Some of this language we already changed with respect to some of the requests that the chief had made in the past, so that stuff's probably not really applicable. That's really, then we increased the holiday to 2.5 times, and the way their schedules work, it really isn't that big of a change, frankly. And I think that is the stuff of substance that we have changed with respect to money items. We did address some language changes that the city had requested, having to do specific with retiree and spouse reimbursement, and moreover, dependent children reimbursement to sort of track some of the other contracts and how we're doing with the police, actually. And we did grandfather in those that were already receiving it. I think cleaned up a little bit of major medical and how it runs consecutively with FMLA, but one doesn't trigger the other. Again, not a huge issue. That's kind of the finer points. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I know the fire department's here as well, and the chief's here, but those are the big changes. I think it's a good contract. I think it's a fair contract. I think both sides compromised, but did fine, and it's the way you want contract negotiations to finish. So I thank the representatives of the fire department for their hard work on this, and we had professional bargaining, so I congratulate them on that as well.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Are there any questions?
Only briefly, following the proposed passage of this ordinance, will it be available for public view at on any platform or avenue? Or is it a confidential type thing?
No, it's not. The collective bargaining agreement is not a contract.
They would get that through your office, right, Nina? Through a records request?
Very good, thank you.
Okay,
I
we
d-
have,
I'm sorry, I do believe, I believe schools are required to publish on their website. That hasn't been handed down.
I will say, I think we're very happy we have all of the union contracts wrapped up. We will not be going through this process for a few years, but thanks to all the bargaining teams from the city side, from the employee side, streets, utilities, police, fire, it was, 2 years worth of bargaining, Dan? But we're in a good place with all of these contracts, and I think satisfied on both sides.
okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. Thanks, guys. MOU longevity.
Brian, would you take that, please?
Memorandum of Understanding. This is a memorandum of understanding between the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 150, AFL-CIO, and the City of Portage, collectively referenced herein as the parties. The parties agree to the following. Whereas the union and the employer are signatory to a collective bargaining agreement covering employees working in the police department, whereas the union and the employer are signatory to a collective bargaining agreement covering employees working in the following departments: streets, sanitation, and parks. Whereas both CBAs are effective January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024. Whereas Section 22.2 of the police CBA provides the payment of longevity pay on a bi-weekly basis in percentages of base wages based on years of service. Whereas Section 23-3 of the CBA covering streets, sanitation, and park provides the payment of longevity in bi-weekly basis in percentages of base wages based on years of service. Whereas an issue has arisen regarding the regular rate of pay for purposes of calculating overtime. Whereas the parties have agreed to resolve this matter without resort to arbitration or litigation, now therefore, in consideration of the mutual promises set forth below, the parties agreed to as follows. 1, the longevity pay provided for Section 22-2 and Section 23-3 shall be calculated multiplying the percentage set forth in the CBA and the employee's base wage rate. 2, each employee's regular base rate of pay shall be calculated by adding each employee's longevity pay to his or her base rate. 3, the resulting regular rate of pay shall be paid out to each employee as straight time. 4, the resulting regular rate of pay shall also be calculated, the overtime rate of pay, by multiplying the regular rate by 1 1/2, or 2 as required by the CBA. Let the record reflect this has been read in its entirety. Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Dan, do you have anything to say about that?
I don't think so, Madam Mayor. I think that this just sort of takes them back to where they were at last year with respect to the longevity calculation.
Okay, are there any other questions?
The unions signed off on this already, right, Tim?
They will, I mean, they've reviewed it, and as soon as we approve it and sign it, I'll send it to them to get signatures.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We have the MOU of the mechanics' wages.
I have that. This is a memorandum of understanding between the International Union of Operating Engineers Local 150, AFL-CIO, and the City of Portage, collectively referenced herein as the parties. The parties hereby agree to as follows. Whereas the union and the employer are signatory to a collective bargaining agreement covering employees working in the police department, whereas the union and the employer are signatory to collective bargaining covering employees working in the following departments: streets, sanitation, and parks. Whereas both collective bargaining are effective January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024. Whereas a dispute has arisen regarding the calculation of the wages for the mechanics helpers, and leads. Whereas the parties have agreed to resolve this matter without resort to arbitration and/or litigation. Now therefore, in consideration of the mutual promises set forth below, the parties agree as follows. 1, that the mechanics' pay shall be calculated retroactively to January 1st, 2023 at $32.84 per hour. 2, mechanics' helper pay shall be calculated retroactively to January 1st, 2023 as follows. 80% at $26.27 per hour, 85% at $27.91 per hour, 90% at $29.56 per hour, 95% at $31.20 per hour, and 100% at $32.84 per hour. That the lead pay shall be calculated retroactively to January 1, 2023 at $34.55 per hour. Let the record reflect as read in its entirety.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, anybody? If not, all in favor?
Let me say just a word. So,
Okay.
yeah, this is a dispute that's arisen. We are only going back to January 1 of this year. We're not going back further. There are a lot of reasons for that. The union has agreed to that. So this is more of a start of this year and going forward kind of thing.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So on this particular MOU, I believe that Councilwoman Geisthurst is abstaining. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I'm going to say on the last MOU, you want to be recorded as an abstention, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Would the
Should
record
we go
reflect that?
back and
No,
do a
we're
roll
fine.
call vote?
No, she's casting her vote as an abstention.
Okay. Thank you. All in favor signify by saying aye. I think I said that, but we'll do it again. Just for the record. Okay, we have the introduction and adoption of ordinances, ordinance 22-21.
Scott, would you take that, please?
Yes. Salary ordinance, budget year 2023, ordinance 22-21. An ordinance establishing the amount of salaries and compensation to be paid to all appointed employees and officers of the City of Portage, Porter of the City of Portage, Porter County, Indiana, for the year 2023. Be it and hereby ordained by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana, as follows. Salary schedule as presented by Sue Lynch, Mayor, to the Common Council of the City of Portage, Porter County, Indiana. Section 1, that from the first pay date in January of 2023 through the last pay date in December of 2023, the pay schedule for the employees and officers of the City of Portage, Porter County, Indiana, to be as follows. And there are two changes from the original salary ordinance that was presented by the mayor. The first is the addition of a sports director at $55,000, which is actually going to be funded initially by the RDC. The second change is to both the secretaries of the Fire Merit Board and the Police Merit Board. Their compensation will be set at $75 per meeting. Let the record reflect that this has been read in its entirety. Motion to suspend.
Second.
We have motion and a second to suspend. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Motion to adopt.
Second.
We have motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We have a second reading on ordinance 23-11, petition for vacation of public way streets and alleys.
Ferdinand, would you be so kind?
Ordinance number 23-11, an ordinance of the City of Portage, Indiana, approving the vacation of public, thank you, sir. I got it. Approving the vacation of public ways, streets, and alleys, whereas the U.S. Department of Interior, National Park Service, Indiana Dunes National Park, hereafter the NPS, has certain parcels of real estate that lie within the city limits of the City of Portage, and whereas the NPS has filed a petition for the vacation of public ways, streets, and alleys, hereby known as petition, in accordance with Indiana Code 367312, before the Portage Common Council, requesting the vacation of certain public ways, alleys, and streets located within the real estate of the NPS, and whereas the City of Portage Common Council conducted a public hearing on the petition for the vacation of public way, streets, and alleys on the 6th day of June, 2023, pursuant to Indiana Code 367312, subsection C, and in the manner prescribed by Indiana Code 531, and whereas no person or persons filed or raised a remonstrance or objection to the petition in accordance with Indiana Code 367313, either in writing or at the public hearing, and whereas the Common Council, having been duly advised in the premises, has determined that none of the streets, alleys, or public ways contained within the petition are being utilized and are not currently developed and has no future plans as such, and whereas the Common Council believes that it is in the best interest and common good that the petition for vacation be approved, be it and it hereby is ordained the Common Council of the City of Portage as follows. 1, that the petition for vacation is hereby granted and approved, or approved and granted. 2, that pursuant to this ordinance, the following public ways, alleys, and streets are vacated to the petitioner MPS and as more fully described and identified in Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein. A, all public ways, streets, and alleys located within the following subdivisions: Calumet Addition, Edgewater Beach, Edgewater First Edition, Fairview, Fulton Road, Herndon's Lakefront Edition, Herndon's Lakefront Edition subdivision of Block 3, Lakefront Edition, Vineland and Walker's Edition. B, any portion of public way, streets, and alleys that lie within the Porter County parcel 6402-34-106-001.000-016, owned by the National Park Service, whose legal description is east, 27 1/2 acres of the west, 62 1/2 acres of the northwest quarter of 3437-7 north of the Indian boundary line. 3, the clerk of the legislative body shall furnish a copy of this vacation ordinance together with Exhibit A for a more specific description of the parcels to be vacated and to the county recorder for recording and to the county auditor. Let the record show that this has been read in its entirety.
Motion to suspend?
Second.
We have motion and a second to suspend. Are there any questions?
So with these vacation requests, the trick often is to have an ordinance that is specific enough to allow the auditor to update the maps at the county level. So just so you know, when I wrote this ordinance, I passed it by the auditor's office. They and their attorney have reviewed it and have determined that it's sufficient enough to address the vacation update. Furthermore, with section B, it was somewhat unclear if that parcel was already vacated, so I put section B in there just as in case it wasn't. When this was addressed back in '04, it seemed like it was an odd notation in the ordinance. I wanted to clean that up. So with that, I would ask and recommend that you approve.
Okay, we have motion and a second. Any further questions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
We have motion and a second. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Ordinance 23-08.
Gina, would you be so kind?
Sure. I won't, mine's not as long as Ferdinand, so bear with me here, though. In ordinance number 2308, an ordinance of the City of Portage, Indiana, amending Chapter 90, Article 5 of the City of Portage Municipal Code entitled Zoning Map. Be it and hereby is ordained by the Common Council of the City of Portage, Indiana, as follows. Section 1. This ordinance shall amend Chapter 90, Article 5 of the City of Portage Municipal Code and accompanying zoning map in the following manner. The zoning shall be changed from OC, Office Commercial, to R2, Low Density Residential. Property commonly known as 6439 Central Avenue, and which is described in Exhibit A. Section 2, conditions, none. Section 3, conflicting ordinances. Any ordinance or provision of any ordinance of the City of Portage in conflict with provisions of this ordinance is hereby repealed. Section 4, severability. The invalidity of any section, clause, sentence, or provision of this ordinance shall not be affected. The validity of any other part of this ordinance shall be given effect without such invalid part or parts. Section 5, effective date. This ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and adoption by the Common Council and approval of Mayor of the City of Portage, Indiana.
And for the record, Councilwoman Geishurst, this came up with a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission, correct?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Motion to adopt?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We have petitions, remonstrances, and public input at this time, and this is our time to hear from the public. If you have concerns or questions or anything you want to discuss with the council or myself, please come forward, state your name and address, step up to the podium, and we'd like you to keep it to about 2 minutes if possible.
How's everybody doing? Some of you may know me, some of you may remember me. I'll try to make this as quick as possible. I'm speaking on behalf of quite a few people. My name is Don Pavey. I live at 662 North, 625 West, Hobart, Indiana. I'm a longtime resident of Portage and Portage Township for over 25 years. Also taught karate at the Portage Parks Department in the mid-2000s for a few years. I moved to Portage from Lake Station to have a better life and schooling for my son. I moved to my current address in Portage Township so I could get away from the subdivision lifestyle and live in the country. I bought 10 acres, built a retirement home, and have a hobby farm, shoot my guns, hunt, and enjoy nature. And it still allowed my son to finish his schooling at Portage High School. That was very important. I'm here today to discuss the proposed subdivision and plat approval being built at the Bauer Farm on 700 North by Steve Kill of RCJJ Development LLC, located at 14400 Lakeshore Drive, Cedar Lake, Indiana. I'm going to read through all this, and I'll have questions at the end, but there are questions through this. I'd like to ask why the neighbors were not notified of a public hearing, one for the annexation, two for the proposed subdivision. We were notified by registered mail for the plat approval with the Planning Commission. We filled up that meeting room May and June with the places packed with people expressing their concerns. I found out very quickly us talking to the wrong people. They can only approve what's already been approved by you. So I'm here at the City Council. First, I'd like to know how the property got annexed in the first place. I know Mr. Kill requested Portage to annex the property. I know that it was not approved in the initial meeting and was approved in a special meeting. Why was there a special meeting, the public not invited? Second, I know the Planning Commission suggested R1 for the subdivision. Why did the City Council change it to R4, inner city? It doesn't fit. The entire area of the proposed subdivision are huge lots with farms, and you are dropping an inner city subdivision in the middle of a rural area. That makes absolutely no sense whatsoever to me or my neighbors. Why are you bending over backwards for this developer? Third, I hear the term affordable housing. This is rebranded as low-income housing, which is what you're intending to put at that location. This type of housing will be a stain on the image of Portage for years to come. None of you on the council will be affected by this subdivision, and I'm positive none of you would want this type of subdivision dropped in your backyard. So I have to ask, why are you doing it here and now and going against what the Planning Commission suggested? This makes no business sense or even common sense to have this type of development at this location. According to the assessor's office, the land was sold to RCJJ Development 4/22/21. Portage annexed the property on 12/2/22. That's what I got from the assessor's office. Rule 5 notice of intent was issued on 11/21/22 before the annexation. The construction stormwater pollution prevention plan technical review and comment was issued on October 5th, 2022 before the annexation, and reviewed on November 7th, 2022 before the annexation. How is it possible to get this paperwork before you know you're going to be approved? It makes no sense. I'm a very common sense kind of guy. Some of the concerns real quick that's being brought up at your Planning Commission. Flooding in the area. Flooding the neighbor's property, there's already a high water table, and the elevation of the land has been changed without permit from engineering of Portage. They have not approved any elevation changes, and that's coming from the Planning Commission. Existing drain tile has already been severed and caused flooding in neighboring properties. The land has been changed to go on the neighboring properties as far as water. I know there's no sanitation permit yet. That's all up in the air right now, as well as stormwater, but he's already done damage to the properties. Another concern is traffic. If you guys haven't been on 700, I live on 625. It takes me 15 minutes sometime to get onto 700 currently. You're adding a proposed 500 more cars with this subdivision, plus the work he wants to do in the northwest side, adding duplexes, dumping onto 700. It's a lot of traffic. It's a county road. You guys don't maintain that road, but has county been talked to? Are they going to change anything? They're going to put a roundabout. Are they going to put stop signs? They're going to put lights to help the community out. There has been the RCJJ did do a traffic study. They put out strips just to see how many cars were there. That's not a proper study. You have a stop sign a quarter of a mile each way and 2 streets in between, and you're adding another street. That's going to be a traffic nightmare for anybody who lives over there. Emergency services. I know part of the problem was emergency services, including police, fire, EMT, and streets, said, you guys are gonna be in the red by putting this subdivision in, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Again, it makes no business sense. So in closing, talking for myself and my neighbors, we were not notified of the annexation or proposed subdivision by certified mail for public hearings, like we were for the subdivision plot hearing. If that's not your policy, that needs to change, because we'd have been here fighting it from the beginning, and I could have filled this room with people. Why is the property in R4, but the property behind Kohl's is in R1? Why are you going against what the Planning Commission recommended? The Bauer Farm is much more rural than where the Kohl's subdivision is going. On behalf of my neighbors and myself, I would like to request that you do not allow this subdivision on this land and revoke the annexation. This will bring no value and only put Portage further in debt. If the subdivision has to go in because of commitments that are made, even though no permits have been issued, do the right thing, make it an R1, and match the surrounding area with homes that bring value to Portage. That's it. That's all I have. I'm open for questions.
Do you have your questions on a piece of paper that we could have so that we could pass it out to all the council members and properly respond to you?
Yeah, you can, let me see here.
Or, Don, you could email them to us and we will
Okay,
disperse
I could do that.
them.
I got them on my computer. I'll email them. So I
Okay.
just wrote all over these.
So if you would give the clerk treasurer that information, she'll make sure that we get it all.
Okay. Okay. So any questions or, I mean, I know you guys, I'm just up here explaining what my neighbors and I are feeling about this. If nobody says anything, you think everything's okay, and it's not. It is not okay.
So some of that stuff done, like we talked about briefly,
Yeah.
the stormwater stuff, we need to address that to the Stormwater Management Board, and I think you should, actually.
I'll be here tomorrow.
With respect to the, because I have had other of the homeowners over there call me about the notice for the annexation. What I've told them is, not that it's in my wheelhouse, but annexation isn't the same required notice as the subdivision plat approval and the subdivision approval process. The statute talks about annexation. The folks that are being annexed are entitled to the notice. So that was why the difference in the two noticing.
Okay.
But you bring up some points, and I think that some of this, I don't know why someone told you that the Plan Commission is the wrong place, because I got to tell you something, it isn't. Some of those concerns lie very soundly there, but we can talk more about that. I just want to let you know.
I made that determination myself when I was told, as long as Steve Kill fulfills the requirements of R4, the
That's
Planning
true.
Commission has to approve it.
That's
So
true.
our concerns don't matter at that point if he's fulfilling what an R4 requires. If it's an R1, it's a different story. There's different guidelines and different things he has to do.
But like, my
So-
point was that, I guess my point is that, not so much for what you've said today, but what other homeowners who I'm friends with have called me. And I've said, they were confused, thinking that somehow the annexation approval changed the process for the subdivision approval.
Oh, yeah,
And
no.
it doesn't. So
No,
you
it
know.
doesn't. I know that. No, I know that.
Okay.
My major concern now is if there has to be a subdivision, to put the correct subdivision in for the area. I mean, there's two houses on my property. It's a 12-acre square. I own 10 acres, and it's proposed to put 8 properties along the backside of my property. That's a little excessive. They're small. They're not conducive to what's around Portage. There's very few R4s in Portage. I looked on your GIS map. Very, very few in little locations. I don't understand why we're putting it in a 50-acre plot that doesn't match the area. Across the streets are too. Everybody else has farms. It just doesn't make sense to me. So I hope you take that in consideration. I will be at the meetings tomorrow for stormwater and the sanitation. I told Gino you're going to see me a lot. I'm not into politics, but I am into protecting what I feel is dear to my heart. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the council or present any issues to the council? Are there any other matters to be considered before this council? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. So everyone be careful going home. We're still in this storm zone, so be careful.